We need to talk about phishing. Phishing is the cause of up to 90% of breaches that affect large corporations, breaches that affect you and me. It's pretty easy if you're just scanning through emails to click on a link that looks like it's official. Domain names look like they're official, and even some of the phishing kits, the pages we end up on when we click those links, look official as well. You hear these kinds of stories all the time. People who are scammed out of money, cryptocurrency, even scammed out of their social media accounts. We have to take a look at what's happening, and we have to pay attention. If you're new here, my name's Kathy Zant. I've been in internet security for a couple of decades. I've cleaned a lot of hack sites, and I've seen a lot of malicious activity. I'm here to investigate what hackers are doing and help you make sense of internet security so you can keep your digital life safe. If that sounds interesting to you, subscribe to the channel. We'll have more content like this and other personal content sometimes as well. Let's look at this recent malicious activity and see what hackers have been up to. This phishing attack first came to light on Ars Technica. This article by Dan Gooden stated that LastPass users have been targeted in phishing attacks good enough to trick even the savvy. This campaign was using email, text messages, and voice calls to trick targets into divulging their master passwords. There are still some people who are using LastPass. They have not seen my previous videos. These individuals were targeted into giving up that one secret, that one master password that gives access to everything within the vault. So how a password manager works, you have passwords stored in a database that are encrypted, but if someone gets a hold of the master password, they can get into that vault. They can get into all of those passwords. It's kind of like all of your eggs are in one basket, so that master password had better be strong. According to this article, LastPass users were targeted by this phishing campaign that was an advanced phishing as a service kit that was discovered in February, and we're going to take a deeper look at that in a minute. This phishing kit called Crypto Chameleon was focused on cryptocurrency accounts, but it has all the resources needed to trick even relatively savvy people into believing communications are legitimate. Elements of this phishing kit include high-quality URLs, a counterfeit single sign-on page for the service the target is using, and everything needed to make voice calls or send emails or texts in real time as targets are visiting a fake site. Very, very sophisticated. Previous targets of Crypto Chameleon have been the FCC, Coinbase, and other cryptocurrency exchanges, as well as single sign-on services using Okta, iCloud, and Outlook. Lookout was the researchers that found this, and they found that a high percentage of the contents collected in these scams were legitimate email addresses, passwords, one-time password tokens, password reset URLs, and photos of driver's licenses. Typically, these databases are filled with junk entries, but it looks like this had been a fairly successful phishing campaign. According to LastPass, this is what they were seeing with crypt targeting their users. So the customer receives a call from an 888 number claiming that LastPass account had been accessed from a new device and instructed them to press 1 to allow the access or 2 to block it. If the recipient presses 2, they are told they will receive a call shortly from a customer service representative to close the ticket. So then the recipient then receives a second call from a spoofed phone number. So the caller ID looks like it's coming from Last, and then the caller identifies themselves as a LastPass employee. This whole activity is making the victim's guard come down, and the individual has an American accent, so it doesn't sound like they're calling from overseas, and then sends the recipient an email they claim will allow them to reset access to their account. This will be a phishing email with a shortened URL that sends them to help-lastpass.com, and that site is a malicious site designed to steal the user's credentials, that master password. If the recipient input their master password into that phishing site, then the threat actor attempts to log into the LastPass account and change settings within the account account to lock out the authentic user and take control of the account. This campaign was targeting LastPass customers on April 15th and 16th. LastPass got that fraudulent site taken down on April 16th. This is just the latest malicious campaign targeting LastPass. They were targeted in 2022, where customer vaults were exposed, and LastPass was targeted earlier this year with a fraudulent app spoofing LastPass that was in the App Store. Also, LastPass says that one of their employees was targeted by a deep fake audio call that was designed to spoof the voice of the company's CEO, Kareem Tuba. Let's take a look at some of the research from Lookout in terms of what they found with Crypto Chameleon. This article is from late February 2024. Employees that were targeted were at the FCC, Binance, and Coinbase, and they were also targeting cryptocurrency users at a variety of cryptocurrency exchanges. They were also targeting email password management and single sign-on services from LastPass, AOL, Gmail, iCloud, Okta, Outlook, Twitter, and Yahoo. They have an analysis here showing what happened with the FCC's phishing site. The FCC uses Okta for identity and access management. That's what Okta does. Lookout flagged this phishing kit when their automated analysis discovered suspicious new domain registered that matched a common format used by Scattered Spider, a malware group that targets large organizations. This domain in question was FCC-Okta, which is only a single character different from the legitimate FCC Okta single sign-on page. So this phishing kit asks the victim first to complete a CAPTCHA. This is for a couple of reasons. First of all, behind the CAPTCHA is where the malware is, where the indicators of a malicious site exist, and so this can hide the malicious activity from automated malware scanners. It also makes it look much more real to a user who is used to having their sign-on flow interrupted by CAPTCHA activity. Next, they see a page, and you can see here the domain FCC-Okta, which is the malicious domain, and it's asking for username and password. Next, they are given a verification screen saying that it might take a second, or they may be asked for an MFA token. Now, typical phishing kits harvest credentials as quickly as possible. This one seems to be aware of modern security controls such as multi-factor authentication, or MFA. So Lookout researchers saw that there's an administrative console that the operator uses to monitor the phishing page. They weren't unable to directly access this console, but they were able to access some of the JavaScript and CSS and piece together some of its functionality. So each time a victim visited the page and entered information, they saw that a new row was populated in a table. Once the victim enters their username and password, the admin is then able to select from a long list of options of where to send them next. The attacker was attempting to log in using those credentials in real time, then redirects the victim to the appropriate page depending on what additional information is being requested by the multi-factor authentication service that the attacker is trying to access. So they can be redirected to a page that asks for the MFA token from their authenticator app or an SMS-based token. So we can see here that these options were then populated here. So that was done using JavaScript, which was easily accessible by the security researchers. The phishing kit then allowed the operator to provide additional information in order to get that one-time password from the victim. They said here, for example, we found a page that tells the victim that their account is under review and to try to log in later at a time specified by the malicious operator. So then the operator was able to select a date when sending the victim to a page telling them when their account will be done being reviewed. The kit contains numerous references to cryptocurrency platforms and single sign-on services. While the version of the kit that was targeting the FCC Okta page, the kit was also able to impersonate many different company brands like Coinbase. They have a full breakdown here of IP addresses that were being accessed, as well as some of the JavaScript files, as well as the delivery mechanisms that they saw that they could observe. So This phishing kit was also sending out SMS messages. So this is a smishing attack here. Your account has been accessed from Salt Lake City. If this wasn't you, please reply with N to lock down your assets. And that's all it says. It doesn't have any suspicious links. So this person replies with an N, and then that response, secure your account here with a malicious domain. They're hoping that they catch you off guard enough that you are going to take action because you feel the urgency of protecting your assets. You're less likely to pay attention to things that might make you think that this is a malicious attack. Lookout was also able to speak to some victims of this attack, and they spoke to someone who received a malicious phone call that socially engineered someone into giving up their credentials. They are on the phone with the victim, and the victim is on their mobile phone on this particular website, and then the threat actor encourages the victim to complete the steps required to obtain the sensitive information. As a way to build credibility and trust, these malicious actors are verifying information that the victim is seeing on their device, that they're seeing on the malicious website. So because they are able to corroborate the malicious actions that are happening on the phone, on the device, you're just in a browser or on text messages, and the threat actor on the phone is corroborating that information. It lends credibility to a malicious attack and makes a victim let their guard down. Now, here's the thing. When we asked victims to describe the person on the other end of the line, they characterized them as sounding American, well-spoken, and that they had professional call center communication skills. So these are high-quality phishing URLs, high-quality login pages, as well as a sense of urgency and a consistent connection through SMS and voice calls. This has given threat actors so much success in stealing some very high-quality data, including pictures of driver's licenses. According to Lookout, this attack follows similar techniques as Scattered Spider, in particular impersonation of Okta, registration of domains using company name -Okta, and homoglyph swapping. Another thing that I have seen with phishing kits and malware and malicious domains is using Cyrillic letters in domains that make them look one way when they are not. So very important to pay attention to that. Now, of course, some people might be wondering whether or not this is Scattered Spider, but there are enough differences to indicate that this is not likely that same malicious actor, malicious group. There are tons of copycatters. If they know that one tactic is working, they will copy those tactics, and other malicious actors will find likely success with those same types of tactics. Lookout also has a number of indicators of compromise, some domains of the command and control servers, as well as the phishing sites, and you can see tons of them with just numbers and Coinbase, Gmail. So if you see anything like that, if there's a number and then a domain name, just very important to pay attention to the domain name that you are pointed towards when you are clicking on links, or better yet, don't click on links. Instead, just go directly to the domain name of the site that you want to use. You can see that it's not just cryptocurrency users that are being targeted. We've got Gmail in here. We've got Apple in here. Obviously, they're going to go after where the assets are, but they're also going after Apple, iCloud, tons of different domains here that are being used by malicious actors. With malicious actors becoming this sophisticated, what are you and I to do in order to protect ourselves? Well, it's going to take some common sense, and it's going to take the effort of putting a buffer zone between the stimulus of a hacker's message and your response to that message. First of all, you need to make sure you keep your wits about you, and with that sense of urgency that an attacker has, that you must take action now or you're going to lose access to your account, you're going to lose access to your cryptocurrency, to all of the money in your bank, all of these various things that are putting a sense of urgency that you must take action, you must do this now. That is one of the first signs that you are under attack. Some common messages: there's a problem with your account. Anything associated with cryptocurrency, your bank, your passwords, even your WordPress website, credit cards, anything that is of value that you consider an asset, should be considered judiciously. If you receive a receipt for an order that you didn't place and it asks you to go through a variety of steps in order to not have that order go through, you're going to lose thousands of dollars. This sense of urgency, hoping that you're going to drop everything and take action and not look at the evidence before you. You might have malicious messages come in where someone is posing as a job applicant or posing as an angry customer and sending you a zip file with all of the evidence, wanting you to download that zip file and infect your computer. You might even get a message saying that you're part of a class action lawsuit and you're owed money, but you must complete this form in order for them to determine that you actually are owed the money. Oh, and by the way, we want your Instagram password. You might have a reward coming in, and that reward expires today, and you must take action and complete this form or log into the site and complete this information. Or someone is on the other end of a telephone call corroborating information that is coming through via text messages and emails. If you look just a little bit deeper, take a breath and say, I will call you right back. You're going to protect yourself from these spoofed calls. Signs of phishing are things like an email address that doesn't match the displayed name, odd links to suspicious sites. Something's changed in the domain name of what you're being sent to. URL shorteners, but as we're seeing with some of these more sophisticated attacks, these URLs look fairly legitimate. Messages that are asking for personal information, asking for master passwords, are asking for you to act right now. Poor grammar, or maybe not. You might receive suspicious attachments, unusual requests, a message that has the lack of a personal greeting. As we can see with some of these sophisticated attacks that Lookout has found, malicious actors that are looking to gain control of your accounts are getting more and more sophisticated. Never put your master password into anything other than your password manager. I don't rely on the links that are texted to me or links that I receive in an email. I know what app I'm using. I know the domain name that I'm using, and I have those stored on my computer. Also, there's some things. Also, what we're seeing with these attacks is they are targeting people on their mobile devices. I don't know about you, but this screen is way smaller than that screen, and it's much harder to see all of the information associated with a site on your mobile device. It's much harder to view source on a page and see what's happening. It's much harder to actually judge the legitimacy of a domain name that you're visiting when you are on a mobile browser. As such, I do my primary financial transactions on the desktop. I even know some people who have a specific desktop for accounting and a specific desktop for anything sensitive, and then they have an iPad or they do all of the play things on their phone, but anything that's associated with their cryptocurrency, their bank accounts, they either use a trusted, legitimate app or they just do those things on a protected desktop. No matter what, if you are doing anything online and you have your information stored in password managers, if you are logging into websites where your assets are being stored, hackers want into those, and these malicious actors are becoming more and more sophisticated. It's up to you to take steps in order to protect yourself. I highly recommend that you go take a look at some of the research that Lookout did. They did a really great job at exploring what was happening with these phishing kits and sharing that information. I'm sure I'm going to do more videos on phishing because phishing is one of those gifts in cybersecurity that just never ends. If this video was helpful to you in understanding the threat landscape of phishing as it is today in early May 2024, give me a like and then hit subscribe. And if you want to be notified the next time I release a video like this, hit the bell icon and I'll see you in the next video.